Hello everyone, my name is Zishan Azhar, and in this vlog I am going to talk about the different ways that you can use to get to Morocco from Spain. So if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Now I'm going to start off by talking about the visa, different modes of transportation, and then I'll talk about the ports that you can use to get to Spain. So first of all, make sure if you have a passport that requires you to have a visa to get into Morocco, you have that. Secondly, your passport has to be valid 6 months beyond the date of entry into Morocco. So if those two things are taken care of, then you can go ahead and start your journey towards Morocco. So you can either go there by plane or you can use the ferry. If you're going to use a ferry, there are three ports mainly in Spain that people use to get to Morocco. One is Gibraltar, then there is Algeciras, and then there is the Tarifa. I'll talk about Gibraltar at the end, but let me start off by talking about Algeciras. So from this port, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours journey to get to Morocco. There are several ferries that operate from this port, and I'll put the name of those ferries here. Make sure you get the tickets in advance before you get to the port. The ferries depart every hour or two from the port. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the timings of the ferry are listed in military timings, 1200, 1400, 1600, and so on and so forth. Sometimes people get confused, they think 1400 could mean 4 o'clock, but it's not. So make sure you have the correct timing and the ticket prior to going to port. And so what happens is before you get onto the ferry, they stamp your passport. The exit stamp is done at the port itself. And once you're on the ferry, the entry stamp into Morocco is done on the ferry itself. So make sure you get those two stamps on the passport before you continue your journey. The one thing to keep in mind is make sure the passport officer does not stamp your passport on the last few pages if they're for annotations or special notes, extensions, or etc. Sometimes what happens is the last few pages of your passport are for annotations or extensions or some other special notes. So keep that in mind. Now, once you're on the ferry, and there are several ferries that operate from these ports, and I'll put the names of the ferry right here at the bottom so you know what are those. So from Algeciras, there is actually one ferry that goes directly to Tangier, whereas all the other ferries, they take you to Tangier Med. Tangier Med is about 45 minutes to an hour away from main Tangier. So if you end up in Tangier Med, you would need to take a cab or a bus to get to main city or the city center of Tangier. And depending on the route that it's taken, it could take 45 minutes or up to an hour. And so that is for the Algeciras to Tangier Med. Now, once you're on Tangier, there is actually a hotel which is very close by, and I did a review for that hotel as well, and I'm gonna leave it in the description below. So you know what that hotel is. I'm not affiliated with that hotel, but just so you know about it, it's very close by. And then the other port is the Tarifa, which is probably the second most famous, or if not the most famous port that people use. It's very close, so if you get on Tarifa, you end up on main city Tangier right away. Once again, the same thing applies. Passport, visa, and tickets. You need those to get onto the ferry. But if you consider Tarifa versus Algeciras, if you're in Tarifa, you end up directly going to Tangier. So Tangier is the main city. So Algeciras versus Tarifa, it's up to you. Either way, there is an extra 45 minutes to an hour journey to get to main city Tangier, because that's where everything is. If you go from Algeciras to Tangier Med, then you need transportation from Tangier Med to Tangier. Or, you could take the extra 45 minutes and continue with the bus or with any other modes of transportation to Tarifa and take the ferry from there. Now let me talk about Gibraltar. So Gibraltar, even though people take it from Spain, it's actually a UK territory. It's controlled by the UK. So depending on your citizenship or your passport, if you need a visa to enter UK, chances are you would need a visa to enter into Gibraltar, and it could cost you sometimes $200 extra just to get a visa to get into Gibraltar. There are some exceptions to it, but make sure you know about this visa requirement to get into Gibraltar. Uh, Now, and the other thing to keep in mind is, there's actually passport control to get into this UK territory. So there might be some extra time that you'll have to wait before you can go in. But once you're in, you can take the ferry from there, and then you'll end up in Morocco. So these are the three different ports that you can use to get to Morocco. The other thing that I mentioned was taking the plane. Ryanair, it's a budget airline that flies from Madrid, and it'll take you to Morocco. But like with all other budget airlines, it's highly restrictive. So if you get a ticket, make sure you make use of the ticket and fly. Otherwise, there is no refund or exchange or anything of that nature. And you'll also need to buy. You'll have to pay extra to get a seat, and also extra to get luggage. And if you need overhead compartment space, you'll need to pay extra for that as well. So keep those fees into account if you're going to be using budget air such as Ryanair. So that was it. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for future videos to come, and also click on the bell icon to get the notifications when new videos come up.